Hello there guys, Francis Gray here and welcome back to part 3 of the 24-inch Godzilla build. Okay guys, if you haven't seen part 1 or part 2 yet, there'll be a link to those in the description bar below. But basically, in a nutshell, we took all the raw kit parts from the kit, we got rid of all seam lines, we resin glued all the parts together, and then we finished the video with a nice grey prime. So in the second video, we took all the translucent resin that made up the atomic raw blast, which is an accessory that comes with the kit. And we put all those parts together, and we also incorporated a nice light up feature inside. So if you've already seen those two, or if you're not really bothered about seeing the first two, you just want to see the finished piece altogether, sit back and enjoy, and at the end of this video hopefully we'll have a finished product. So I'll see you at the end. Okay guys, so welcome back to the next part of the build. So I started off by giving all the parts that had already been given a prior grey prime coat a simple coat of matte black. The reason is because the client wants me to do a darker gunmetal base tone coat to the basic skin of Godzilla. So I had to start with a dark platform, so to speak, to build up from. So yeah, matte black spray paint to the rescue. Okay, so for the next part I went in with some of this stuff, which is gunmetal grey from Vallejo, which is an acrylic paint, and the number on it is 77.720, and basically it's just a really dark silver, which is perfect for the base coat skin tone of Godzilla. So just take me time in applying all the different surface areas with the airbrush, and then just going in with the hairdryer and giving it a quick dry, and then just cracking on with the paint job and getting into all the little nooks and crannies. I'd also like to apologise for the state of the background, because normally I don't tend to do model kits on this scale, so I had to makeshift a little separate work table so I could get this big fella on there, and as a result, unfortunately, you have to see quite a bit of clutter and rubbish in the background, so I do apologise, but it's the best I can do for now. Okay guys, so at this part I'm going in with a pre-mixed medium metallic red, and I'm just doing the inside of Godzilla's mouth. Okay, so for this point I went in with some medium silver, and I basically just dry brushed a lot of highlights over the main skin area and the spines of Godzilla, basically just to add a highlight from the dark gunmetal grey, just to make all the features stand out. Okay, so at this point I'm just going to go ahead and give a highlight dry brush of the same silver to all three of the different variants of the Godzilla heads. So at this point I mixed in some medium pink and a dash of the metallic red, mixed in with what was left of the silver from the dry brush, and then I just made a lighter dry brush tone to paint on the inside of all the variants of Godzilla's mouth. And at this point I'm going in with some black from the airbrush, and I'm just getting into all the little dark nooks and crannies, like the inside of his thighs, under the armpits, inside the hand, going down the spinal column, basically all the areas that would be dark, in between his toes, places like that, and that just adds another layer of depth. So for the next part I'm going in with a Revel number 93, which is a copper colour, and I am painting the teeth, and I do this for all three head variants. Okay, so for the next part I went ahead and I painted Godzilla's toenails, and I used the same Revel number 93, the copper colour. So at this point I went in with some regular super glue, and I super glued the top of that head back into place. Left that to dry, so soon we can think about covering over that horrible seam line. So yes, so just using some acrylic white to paint the insides of the eyes, basically just to lighten it up from the base coat of the gunmetal. And yeah, soon we can start adding some nice details to those. So here I am going in with some regular wood filler, and I'm filling in that horrible seam line, and this is the last seam line that we need to fill in now. So just using a bit of kitchen towel just to basically mop up any of the excess, just make sure that it gets on in there, and then a quick air dryer to help it speed it up for drying, and once done we can paint over it. Okay, so at this point I'm going in with what is called Pearl Blue, and it's a metallic blue airbrush paint from Badger, and its number is 7.75. So it was a little bit on the thick side because it's been a while since I last used this, so I did have to water it down a little bit. So at this point I'm going over a regular black acrylic, and I'm just going over that gap seam line with the wood filler, and just leaving that to dry, and then going in with the same gunmetal over the top as well. So it has left the area a little bit on the darker side, but as you can see there, we go ahead and we give it a dry brush of the same silver, and it really makes it match. So at this point I'm going in with a black acrylic wash, and I'm just going over where I painted the toenails, basically just to get into all the nooks and crannies and make them look a little bit darker. And at this point I am going in with a ultramarine blue metallic paint from Crawford and Black, and it's a really nice metallic actually, and I think that would work really well for the highlights of the leading up to the ends of the spikes. The spikes will later get dry brushed with an acrylic white, because I want to emulate like a light building up, so it's going to be darker at the bottom and then medium blue in the middle, and then yeah, it's going to lend to a nice metallic and then white. So yeah, hope it turns out okay. Okay, so at this point I'm just going in with the same metallic blue, and I'm just the same as with all the other spikes. I'm just going in and I'm just highlighting the ends just to make it all match. I'm also adding the same blue into the eyes of two of the heads, basically the heads with the mouth open, basically just to emulate the the energy level building up and taken over. So at this point I'm going in with a nail polish, which is from Revlon, and is it's a really beautiful metallic blue, and I think this will work perfect for the end tips of the spikes. Okay, so at this point I'm going in with another nail polish, and I'm going in with a gold, and I'm just adding a highlight to Godzilla's toenails. So I suppose I can always say I've given Godzilla a pedicure. So after those I used the same nail polish gold colour and added a highlight to the ends of all of the nails on Godzilla's hands. And then I did the exact same but with the edges of all of Godzilla's teeth. Same again on all three heads, so everything matches. Okay, so at this point I'm going in with some just regular acrylic white, and I'm just applying it to the very ends of the spikes. Now I'm not going to keep these all white, this is just like an undercoat to the very tips. It'll make sense later on in the video. Okay, so at this point I'm just going in with 3 different head variants, and I'm just doing the exact same thing. Okay, so at this point I'm going in with another nail polish, this time from a company called Saffron. And same again, it's a really nice metallic blue, just like we did with the last nail polish. But with this one, it's got like a tiny little bit of a hint of like a green tinge to it. So yeah, it just adds another layer of depth to the metallicness of the spikes. Okay, so at this point I'm going in with the same nail polish and I'm adding a couple of coats to the eyes just to get across the metallic feel of the bright blue Atomic Blast version of eyes from Godzilla. So two of the heads with the open mouth, they're going to have the Atomic Blue Blast eyes, and then the closed mouth version, that is going to be painted with green eyes. Basically it just gives a nice different display option, so hopefully it all ends well. Here I'm applying some just general black acrylic paint, just getting it onto the inside and around the eyes, just to give them like a darker look, and that'll help the metallic eyes stand out. So same again, I'm going back in with regular acrylic white, and I'm just going to give another highlight to the very end tips to all the spikes, just to make them that bit more vibrant. Same again, I'm not going to leave them completely white because I do have something else planned later on. Okay, so at this point I'm going in with a trusty black wash, which is just a watered down black acrylic paint mixed with water, just to make it a lot more runnier, and just applying it into all the little nooks and crannies, and then taking a clean kitchen towel or kitchen roll and just mopping up the excess, just to bring back the highlights, I suppose. And yeah, just overall it just makes it look that a little bit more darker, but it also helps identify the highlights as well. So it's just a nice little trick that really brings out extra detail. Okay, so at this point I'm going in with some regular acrylic metallic green, and I'm just adding the pupils of, or the iris, should I say, of Godzilla. Okay, so here I'm going in with a lighter green, just to add a bit more vibrancy so the eyes stand out. And it's the first time I opened up and the first time I've used this paint, so with me only using a little tiny bit, I just decided to use the end of the seal rather than splodging a lot of paint out just for a little piece. At the moment I'm going in with a cocktail stick and some black acrylic, and I'm just applying like the pupil and around the sides of the eye. And now I'm going back in with the same airbrush gunmetal, and I'm just applying it to the base or the centre part of all the spines, basically just to make it look like it's evolving from the same colour skin as Godzilla, and then it's obviously building up and lighting up around it. So just, I suppose, anchors it and makes it look all one rather than standing out as separate. Okay, so for the next part I'm going in with a light watercolour of blue, and we're just painting over the tips of the spikes where we painted the couple of layers of acrylic white. This basically just blends it all together so it still looks like a tinge of blue, but it's leading into white. So mightn't make much sense, but it just makes it flow a lot better. I don't know if it's showing up on the camera, but if you compare it to just pure bright white to as you see now, it just flows a lot better. So don't worry, we will be going back in soon with a tiny little bit of white, and we're just going to add the very ends just to make it mimic illuminated light. So yeah, this is a vital stage. Mightn't seem like it, but it just goes a long way overall. And at this point, same again, I'm just going in with the watercolour, but on the 3 different head variants, just so it matches. So for the next part, I went in with some medium blue to basically highlight the inside of the faired head of Godzilla, so the open atomic blast raw head, because I wanted to mimic like a light source coming from within the neck space. And I'm also using the same blue to get into the like nooks and crannies of 2 separate like slits on the neck. I suppose like where the gills would be on a fish, but yeah, that's basically just to add like an undertone, which we will be lightening up later on to mimic more atomic breath light coming directly from Godzilla himself. So now that those heads have got a base coat, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a little bit more to the body of Godzilla. So there's 2 side crevices, which we're going to try and make that look like it's lighting up. And also the client wanted me to add a little bit over the main chest area. Now, as you can see there, it has been put on a little bit thicker, but we'll tidy that up later with some dry brushing. So in order to keep it all tied together, I decided to use the same metallic dark, well, medium blue, and just add a little tiny little highlight, I suppose, with the airbrush on both sides of all the main spines on the back, just to basically tie it all together and make it a little bit more universal. So now that that blue has been given a good few minutes to dry, for the next part I'm going to go in with a much lighter blue, same again from the airbrush, and same again, just getting it into all the little various nooks and crannies that the client asked me that he wanted it to look like it was illuminating up. And yeah, just taking my time and making sure that all the 3 different variant heads are got the same pattern. And also I sprayed a little bit more on the inside of the mouth there, just to make it match the same colour pattern. And yeah, I also added a little bit to the front torso of the chest area, and same again, the 2 side grooves like we did in the last scene. Okay, so once again, now that that's dry, I'm going to go in with that same metallic blue nail polish that we used earlier in the video, and I'm just going over the same areas. Now, the reason why that is because when this dries, it gives it more of a metallic feel, and it also mimics, like, I suppose, like chemicals inside creating the atomic blast itself. So it just goes a long way, and it makes it look a bit more like light emitting from it rather than just a static matte, colour. So yeah, I just take my time and make sure it gets all into all the little nooks and crannies. So after a few hours of leaving that metallic nail polish to dry, because I wanted that to fully cure before I went ahead with the next step, I loaded up some white airbrush paint, and then just took my time and just basically highlighted a white centre mark going down the centre of the side parts of the neck, and then I also added some highlight to the tips of the first spike on the back of the neck there. And I went ahead and I did that for all 3 head variants. I also added a little bit of white on the inside of the mouth of the open jaw atomic breath head, as you can see right now. And same again, just to mimic more light. Now you might see my dog Harley walking around in the background there. She likes to come out and keep me company sometimes. So that just that little tiny little bit of white goes a long way to mimic a lot lighter light source. And so same again with the chest and the side parts. And soon I'll also be adding extra highlight of white, again from the airbrush, to all the ends of the spikes. And for the final step of these highlight parts, I'm just dry brushing some white acrylic paint, and then just once it's in there, just mushing it about with a dry brush just to blend it out a little bit, just to make it look a little bit more vibrant. Okay, so for the next part I'm going to go in with some ice blue from Games Workshop, and I'm going to add some of the intricate patterns that you sometimes see on Godzilla's spines.
A few moments later.
Okay, so trying to paint the intricate design on each spike wasn't working really well. The reason why is because the spikes are quite bumpy and there's quite a lot of lumps and bumps, and when you try to paint what is kind of like a tribal kind of glyph kind of pattern, you can't really paint a straight line over uneven surfaces, and when you move around it just looks odd. It looks weird. So I decided to abandon that idea and instead using the same ice blue from Games Workshop and just painting over both sides of each spike, and then taking some clean kitchen towel and just gently wiping away the excess. And then what that basically does is it leaves the really bright blue paint inside all the little nooks and crannies, and then when you wipe it away it only remains in the crevices. So when you look at it, it looks like the inside of the spikes is illuminating from within rather than trying to paint on the outside. I hope that made sense.
What?
So at this point I'd mixed some metallic silver or really vibrant silver and just added a dry brush over the main chest area and running down past his belly to where the start of his tail comes out, just basically to add a highlight. Okay, so at this point I went in with some regular gloss varnish from a spray can, and I just went over and spray painted both sides of all the new areas that we painted, so all the spines and the new light up areas and the necks of all three head variants, and then obviously all the new parts around the chest and torso area, just to protect it. So for the next part I went in with some UV resin. And if you don't know what UV resin is, basically it's just resin that you can apply to any area to give it like a glossy wet look, but it won't harden until you put it under either a black lamp or a black light, or it hardens through natural sunlight, so basically UV rays. So the reason why we go ahead and do this is it gives a natural wet look to make like eyeballs look more realistic rather than just like painted on acrylic with like a gloss varnish over the top. Just makes it look a little bit more better. So I use the exact same resin to do the inside of the open raw atomic mouth, so bottom of the jaw, the tongue, and then the roof of the mouth. And then I also did the same for the second head, which is like the open raw head. Okay guys, I think it's finished. Okay guys, so I'm going to show you the light source. I'm going to darken the room down first. And then we can have different types of effects. So we've got flash, we've got strobe, and we've got fade. And we've got smooth. So out of all of them, I probably think my favourite is between this one here or the dark blue here. Probably lean more towards that one. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this build. If you have, please smash that like button and share on Facebook and Twitter, because it helps new people find the YouTube channel, which I'm always appreciate. Thank you for any help. If you have any comments, comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And if you haven't already, please smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future builds. So once again, I'm Francis Gray, and this is the 24-inch Resin Godzilla build. I'll see you in the next one.